Hello, my name is Brian Kinney and I'm a Striven ERP advisor, and welcome to our item management lesson where we will be discussing item settings. Topics will include units of measure, item categories, inventory locations, reference materials, and shipping methods. So with that, let's get started. To begin managing your item settings, let's first click the Company tab and Settings from the drop-down. Next, click Accounting and Inventory. Here we'll have an Items tab, but we'll also have a Locations section. If we choose Items, we'll have three specific options that fall down underneath. Let's explore Categories to begin our journey. Item categories are ways to categorize your items to fit your company's needs. I have examples built out already, including baking, discount, labor, and materials. And you can see that materials is a parent category, and if I expand, I can see the subcategory of supplies underneath. To add a category, simply type in the name of your new category in the field displayed. Once you have added your item name, simply click the Add button, and this will add it to your list of categories. If you want to make a category a parent category, all you have to do is click a category, drag and drop over another, which you'll see the light blue highlight, and release. This will put the selected category underneath a second category, making the parent-child relationship. And with that, I can collapse or expand as needed. Now, another option you have with item settings is tracking custom fields with items. And to find those, let's click the Company tab, Customizations, and Fields from the drop-down. This will populate a page where you can choose the select field, and we can choose items from the drop-down here. Now we can see that we already have one custom field that we're tracking information for, and I can click the plus field to choose to add another custom field for our items. Now these custom fields will be for all items regardless of the item type. And your field types are what type of data you want to be tracked. So here I can choose an alphanumeric, which is an alphabetical and numeric data. Integer will add a comma, for instance in the thousandths or millionths place. Decimal will be a numeric value which adds a decimal where needed. Currency will be numeric that adds a American dollar symbol. Date and time field will have a calendar and clock icon where you can choose a calendar date and a time. Then you have both of those separated in date and time respectively. You have yes and no. Alphanumeric multi-line fields will be able to capture alphabetical and numeric data, but in multiple lines, so you can choose the enter button to go down a line. You have attachments to upload documents or images. Select value from custom list will allow you to create a list for users to select values from. And then you have select value from existing list, and that would be lists that already exist in Striven, such as the customers list, employees list, divisions list, and so forth. Let's choose an alphanumeric field, and we'll choose our field name here. So here, if I want to know whether the item is going to be sold to customers, I can have that be an option, and here I can choose yes or no, and I can choose a checkbox or a radio button as an example. And once I choose Save and Close, we'll see the new custom field listed here. Now let's talk about reference materials. And we can find reference materials by going to Company, Settings, followed by Accounting, Inventory, Items, and Reference Materials. You can also search in the settings box. So if I search for reference, I can see reference materials here, highlighted in green, to go to our specific page. Reference materials is a way to add images or documents to your items. And here I can click Add Reference Material to begin that process. So here I can choose what I'm adding in terms of a reference material for my items. And this could be maybe a setup document or a brochure or maybe just an image or something of that nature. So let's say with a specific item I have an assembly instruction guide. So I can add that here. And then I can choose the type of reference material that I'm adding. And there are three specific types of reference materials available. One is a document, and with documents you can choose to upload a file, and you can see the multitude of extensions that are listed here, and the max file size per file uploaded is 100 megabytes. The other option is a link, And with a link, you can paste a URL so that users can click the link and view the information regarding the reference material. You also have notes, and with notes, you can conditional format content within the note for users to see. I'm going to choose a document, and I'll select a document to upload here. So once I've added a document, I can then come down here and click Save and Close, and you'll see the new reference material is listed here. And if I click the View button, it'll then download in my browser for me to preview. And reference materials can be added to individual items, which we'll cover in the item creation video in more detail. Now if you want to search for your reference materials, we have a lot of search filters here, including searching for the reference material name, the type of reference material, whether it's a document, link, or note, the status, whether it's active or inactive, and if I click the blue down arrow, we can also filter for the item name where the reference material is associated to, and the category as well. Now let's talk about shipping methods. And if I click the shipping methods, we can view those on the shipping methods page. Now the search filters here are pretty simple. We can search for active or inactive shipping methods, and you can see all the existing shipping methods here in our list. But if you want to add a new one, we can just click the Add New Shipping Method button. And here we can name our new method. So let's say this is FedEx Ground. And we can even add a tracking link as well. And this will allow us to view the tracking number on things like orders and invoices where we're shipping the product to a customer. If you want to allow that, then all we have to do is go to the carrier, such as FedEx, type in a tracking number, and click the Track button. This will bring us to a page in which we can copy the URL and paste it in the tracking URL field. All we have to do is erase up until the equal sign and paste this merge field and click Save. This will allow us to select a quick view on orders and invoices and a multitude of different transactions where the tracking number appears, and that will populate the carrier to allow us to easily track the package. Now let's talk about inventory item setup a little bit. And with inventory items, you can add inventory locations. Inventory locations are different from your company locations because inventory locations only hold on stock quantities of your inventory items, whereas company locations are where individual employees perform their daily processes. And these inventory locations will appear on transactions and orders, but they'll also appear on inventory adjustments and transfers, as well as builds. Now on the inventory locations page, you can search for a location name. You can also include inactive locations in your search. But to add a new location, just click the Add New Location button. A pop-up will appear in which we can name our new location. We can designate a parent location if we want to, add a description, or just click Save and Close to add it to the list. If we want to edit any of these, we can simply click the name of the existing inventory location and we'll have the same exact options, but this will include a deactivate button if we want to make the inventory location inactive. Now the final option that we have with our item settings is units of measure, and we can see that right down here underneath the accounting settings. Now here we can see all of our existing units of measure. We can see our set, which are count, length, and poundage. And we can see the base units of measure. Base units of measure meaning the smallest increment of measurement that we've included. Our sales default and our purchasing default is also located here. We can also see which units of measure are currently being used by items with the in use status here. If units of measure is currently in use, the deactivate button will not be shown for those particular sets. Search fields include the set name, the unit name, the status, whether it's inactive or active. Now to begin adding a new unit of measure, just click the Add button, and this will bring up the units of measure set information page. Here we can choose the type, and units of measure have two types. One is count and the other is length. Now count, if we choose that, you'll see the set name is count, but we can edit that here if we want to. The base unit will be, again, the smallest unit of measure that we want to allow, which is each, which means 1. And then we have our sales default and our purchasing default, which are both each, but we can change those as well. Down below here are your related units, which are multipliers of your base unit. So we have pair, which is 2, we have a dozen, which is 12, and a package, box, and case really depends on the set that you're adding. But let's assume that a package is 6, a box is 24, and a case, let's say, is 96. So now we have our base units with all of the abbreviations and the names of each of the unit as well. If we need to add more, we can simply choose Add More and add a new unit of measure and say how many is in that specific unit of measure as well. Now our sales default and our purchasing default could be different depending on our needs and our unit of measure. Now let's say that we always want to sell a package of this measurement set, and we always want to purchase a pallet's worth. We can choose those related units from the drop-down. If I need to rename my set, I can do that here, and then click the Save button to make sure that my new unit of measure is saved. I can also choose Save and Close to go back to my list where we'll see our new unit of measure here with our sales default and our purchasing default. Now the other type of unit of measure is length, and if we choose length from the drop down, we can see the base unit is millimeter, and same with our sales and purchasing defaults. Our related units are all filled out based on how many millimeters goes into each related unit, such as the centimeter, inch, decimeter, and so forth, all the way up to mile. If we want to change our sales default, we can do that here. So let's say I always want to sell a foot, but I always want to purchase a yard. I can designate those specific units, and I can rename the set if I want to, and click the Save button to make sure that my unit is saved. You can get really creative with your units of measure. For instance, I've added a unit of measure called poundage, and my base unit is ounce. But if I click into that unit of measure, my base unit is ounce, but I have multipliers or related units such as cup, pound, gallon, and ton. And you can see the base units that go into those measurements along with their abbreviations as well. Now once you've created your units of measure, you can associate the unit of measure to a specific item on the Add or Manage Item Info page, which we'll talk about in our item creation video as well. So this was a look at how to configure your item settings within Striven to best fit your needs of your company.